What is up guys, welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and today we're looking at a pretty special, affordable, budget mechanical keyboard from Cooler Master with a unique design, the full RGB spectrum and Gateron mechanical switches. What the fuck? Now the first thing you'll notice about this keyboard, aside from the fact I filmed the B-roll outside, we're currently in the middle of a British summer heatwave, it's very painful, it's actually its $90 price point, and it really doesn't look too much out of the ordinary from what you'd expect to find on a keyboard costing 50, 60, 70% more on that price tag. With a brushed aluminium or aluminum, whatever floats your boat, keyboard backplate design, it looks really quite fantastic. With a standard layout, I've got an EU derivative here, though US, UK ones are also available, and I'll link them in the description down below. You get Cherry MX compatible keycaps, though the switches themselves are from Gateron, so essentially are imitation but nevertheless still mechanical, that feel fantastic. I think the keycaps used here are actually better than on their higher end keyboards, many of which I've reviewed, and you can find those in the card section here. The key switches used here are actually from a company called Gateron, as I've said, and aim to imitate the more expensive Cherry MX switch designs. I've got the red version here, and it stacks up nicely against the genuine Cherry MX red switch. It's linear as advertised with a light actuation force that, whilst isn't to my personal preference or my personal ideal, it definitely sits in line with the Cherry alternative. You can get this in different switch derivatives as well, and I'll link those in the description below for different regions and retailers, all that good stuff. The Rgb options on this keyboard are another area in which it really excels. You can either use a combination of the function button disguised as a Cooler Master logo and the function row up top to switch between effects, modes, colours, speed, direction, all that good stuff, or pair it with the included software suite available to download easily from the Cooler Master website. For me, this approach really strikes the perfect balance. I like to be able to quickly change effects on the keyboard and maintain good compatibility for Linux and Mac operating systems, but the long and short of it is that Windows is always going to be the easiest way in software to skip through different effects and visualize them in the best way possible. So really good job on this one, Cooler Master. Additional things to note about this keyboard would be first and foremost the actual typing height. The keyboard comes in at quite an angle out of the box without any feet or extension on the bottom, and can be raised even more with said feet at the back of the unit. Personally, I really like quite a steep typing angle, but many may be a bit adverse to this decision. You also need to take into account that the keyboard is quite a bit wider on either side than it perhaps needs to be, though this isn't a criticism because I think it looks just really quite nice, but for many it may be slightly impractical on a smaller desk or workstation area. As always though with any product, it isn't all perfect. There are a few things I don't quite like about this unit. On one hand, the brushed aluminium top looks fantastic, although the light doesn't diffuse particularly nice onto such a dark surface. You also lack any form of media control keys, and though I think that's a trade-off you should make on a cheaper unit, it is something to take into consideration. You also lack any form of removable or braided USB cable as well, which is one thing to note, not quite so good on the portability and durability front, but once again it's a trade-off of a cheaper unit such as this one. My main criticism of this keyboard, however, probably isn't what you're expecting to hear. It's actually just a little bit too good for the price point it comes in at. Now I know what you're thinking, James, how can you say a product is too good? Well, I don't see feasibly how I could honestly tell you to go and get one of Cooler Master's higher end units when this is available on the market. Yes, their top end units are going to give you genuine Cherry MX switches, a removable braided USB cable, and maybe some dedicated media control keys. However, none of them give you any sort of dedicated macro keys as of yet, and whilst I understand the top end products of a market are stories of diminishing returns for the money you put in, this thing just has all the features I think you could possibly need on, and will give you some spare change left over for a nice mouse or a decent headset. That being said, I think that's quite a nice note to end today's video on. If you'd like to pick one up, please check out the links in the description below. They're there for your convenience, and as always, we'll see you in the next GeekaWhat video.